All right, we're live now. Sorry for the delay. Technical difficulties. Let me get my pillow couch out of the way. I'm currently about to move um, onto a sailboat. So let's get into how I started sailing as an adult. So I didn't grow up on sailboats. I saw sailboats because I'm from Maryland and Chesapeake Bay, and we have Annapolis here. So I've seen sailboats, but I didn't grow up on them. My family didn't have a boat, but I did get to go on my friend's power boat a little bit. She was an only child, and they would invite me along for trips, probably so we could keep each other occupied. But sailing wasn't something I had experience with, but it was something I was always curious about because I always saw these little sailboats. So let me just get a sip really. All right. Apologies. All right. So sailing was something that I didn't get a chance to do, but it was something I was curious about. So once I got into my 20s, mid 20s or so, it was something to do, but I didn't have a. I was working a full time job and going to grad school at night. But my boyfriend at the time, who's now my husband, doing sailboat racing on somebody's sailboat. So he didn't own the sailboat. Just this person needed crew on his sailboat, and in exchange for crewing and making sure to do what they need to do during the sailboat race, he got to be on the sailboat, and he got to every week for, I guess it's from about April until the end of October, he got to go on this sailboat and he got to go sailing. So for a year, he was doing this while I was studying at night for grad school. And then the next year, I decided I wanted to do it too. I didn't want to be on his boat. I just wanted to learn to sail. And he had told me, you don't actually need experience because there's so many people that need more crew on their boat. So I went on the association's webpage, which had something called like a crew finder, where you basically put up an ad for yourself, like, hi, young or strong person, I have experience, I don't have experience person, willing to chip in and help if you need crew. And some boat found me and they needed crew and they invited me along. But at the last second, an opening opened up on the boat my husband was. I always hear about how that can be a problem, but he assured me that he wouldn't teach me and that there would be 9 other people on board. That's right, 9 other people, and they were all very nice and the type of people that were willing and able and wanted to take a newbie on board who was also eager to learn and eager to chip in and help out. That's the key: eager to learn and eager to help out and all of that. So for the first year, I made sure that I came no matter what, like whether I was sick. Obviously, if I was really sick to the point where I was gonna get people sick, I wouldn't have come. But if I was having a headache or anything, I made sure I showed up. I didn't tell anyone, but I got seasick every single time we went out. I still get seasick all the time. It's just a fact of life for me, and I enjoy sailing, so I do it anyway. So that's how I started sailing on a race sailboat. No experience at all, and the people took me in and taught me. So how much does that cost? Well, for the boat I was on, it didn't cost anything to be on that boat. What it cost wasn't financial, but it was making sure that you were a team player, that you helped out, that you had a good attitude, that you were consistent. That's what our captain wanted. I don't know for sure if other boats require you to pay, but I'm pretty sure that there's a lot of boats that won't require you to pay a big fee. But if you decide to learn how to sail by crewing on someone else's sailboat, remember you're a guest on board their sailboat. So when I say guest, I don't mean like a guest, like, oh, do this for me, do that for me. No, you're a guest, but you're a guest that's going to make sure that you help out with everything, that you're going to follow the rules of the house. And if you don't like the sailboat that you're on, you should probably find a different sailboat to be with, because there's different personalities and different types of people. And for the most part, Basically, everybody that I've come into contact with in the boating world has been super friendly, but some of those race sailboats have more of a screaming or yelling type of streak. Just think of it like sports. There's some people who are chill about sports. They can be a team and they can communicate. Maybe you have to be loud because you need to be direct and things are fast. But um, you don't need to be yelling and mean to each other. So some people are like that, but that's not the majority, and you can definitely find somebody else to sail with. So let's get back into how I learned to sail. So that was back in 2017. It's now 2022. So I'm going into my sixth season. Um, so from 2017 to I don't know, maybe mid 2019, I raced with that team. It was wonderful. They taught me what to do. Eventually, they found out I got seasick all the time, but I still showed up and everything. But unfortunately, we our last season was supposed to be 2019, and we didn't get to finish the season out because unfortunately, another sailboat fouled us and actually hit our sailboat. Not our fault, their fault, and took out our sailboat for the whole rest of the season with the damages that they caused. So that was a bummer, but luckily, my husband had um, a little sailboat. It's like I think it's called a sailing dinghy. It's called a laser. It's meant for one person, but since I'm quite petite, he was able to get on it with me to teach me how to do it. Um, Obviously, you probably don't have a laser, otherwise, you wouldn't be clicking on here trying to figure out how to learn how to sail without a boat. But you can find these boats you can rent them. You can join a sailing center where they have them available for use for like a monthly fee. There's one here in Baltimore called Downtown Sailing Center. And then I think there's one in Baltimore County as well. Maybe it's called like Baltimore County Sailing Center. But they have these smaller boats, and the fee's pretty reasonable if you want to get into sailing, especially compared to buying a boat or fully chartering a boat. So for some time, I learned that with my husband. He taught me how to do that. It's something where you don't actually need somebody on board to teach you. You can go online, get the gist of it, and then you only need, I don't know how much, I think you only need like 3 feet, not even, to sail that boat. So you can be in 3 feet of water and just messing around and figuring out how to do it. So you don't even need somebody there to teach you how to do it. It doesn't have an engine. It's just one sail. The crazy thing though about the smaller boat, which is like maybe 10 or 12 feet, is that it can actually flip over. Unlike the larger racing sailboat, which that is not supposed to flip over unless you're in some crazy type of wind, like a hurricane or something. But if you're going out in a hurricane, I'm pretty sure you're prepared to deal with some craziness. So with the little sailboat, the little dinghy, we learned on that. I flipped it over a few times, which I hated doing that. But that was really good practice because it's immediate feedback. Because if you screw up, you're upside down. Uh, and then in 2019, we started restoring the boat that we have now, which is a 1990, no, 1977 Morgan 37. So it's a 37-foot sailboat. And we started restoring that. And then in 2020, we were finally able to start taking it sailing. And now instead of being on um, a sailing team of 10, where you just have one person for every single job, all the jobs were split between my husband and I. So it went from 10 people all the way down to 2 people. And looking back, I'm really glad that I started racing as a beginner when I knew nothing instead of starting to sail with just my husband or just one other person. Because although racing seems like an intense way to start, especially when you don't know anything, it's actually kind of better because you have so many other people to help teach you things and talk to you. And as a beginner, you can be responsible for one thing, just one thing. You don't have to be responsible for all sorts of different things the entire time. And that was really good that I got to learn all the little pieces over several years. And I got to be out on a sailboat every week from April through the end of October, which was amazing. But now we do have a boat and we sail it. We're about to move on to it, all of that stuff, which is crazy. But let me get into some other resources of how you can start to sail without buying a boat. Because I think a lot of people think that you have to buy a boat or you need to actually directly know somebody with a sailboat. And you don't need to directly know somebody. You just need to have the right attitude. So if you're the type of person who you're a team player, you can be consistent, you're reliable, you're open and willing to help out in any way that a captain needs, you can go and try to find a boating, racing, yachting association in your area. Don't let the word yacht scare you off. We're not talking about like monster mega yachts or anything. It's just the term for an organization. So I raced with Baltimore City Yachting Association, and most of the sailboats were about 35 feet long. Some were smaller and some were bigger. But so you can find that anywhere. You don't have to be in the Chesapeake Bay area. You can be along the Great Lakes. The tactician on our boat was from Arizona, and she had learned how to sail in Arizona. So you just need lakes. Um, and I've actually seen some videos of people with that little dinghy boat that's like 10 or 12 feet long, and they put it in like a pool or something ridiculous and they just mess around with it. They don't have a lot of space to move, but you can learn to sail in almost anywhere that has at least a pool size of water. It's not going to be the same, but something to get you started. So there's crew finders. Um, you don't have to be near a coast, is all I'm trying to say, is you can find something. You may have to drive a couple hours depending on where you are, but if you really want to learn, you can figure it out and you don't have to own the boat. There's sailing centers and there's sailing resources. For the bigger type of boats, you will probably need to be near like a proper size lake or the coast in order to crew on someone's boat. But a lot of the US has that. I don't know about the rest of the world. So everything I'm saying is for the US. It may be different in the rest of the world. I don't know. Tell me in the comments how it is where you live. And then some other ways to learn to sail, if you like something more structured, is to actually take a sailing class. So I think it's the American Sailing Association. They have like a free online course, which that's not going to teach you how to actually do it in real life, but it'll teach you all the language, all the theory behind it and everything of how to do. So when you do actually end up on a boat, you kind of have an idea instead of starting from, I have no idea. What is this line? Oh, it's a rope. Oh no, it's actually a line. Just all sorts of crazy stuff like that where you don't even know what you don't know. So that link will be in the description. There's also courses where you have hands-on teaching. There's certain instructors that are independent that teach you. The American Sailing Association, they have courses, I believe through them. They have a certification. So if you ever wanted to be the captain of your own chartered boat, maybe you want to go to the Caribbean and you want to charter a boat, which basically means you were renting a boat and you were going to be the one in charge of it, steering it, anchoring it, all of that. You need to have certifications or you need to have a good sailing resume. So they're good for getting that type of stuff. And then there's another group that's ACA certified, but they're not directly ACA. They're called Sailing Virgins. I've never taken any of these courses with any of these groups, so I don't know how they are, but the Sailing Virgins group is more for like the younger crowd. So if you're wanting more of a party scene, doesn't have to be too party, but you don't want like children, family environment, you want more of like a young couple, singles type of environment. The Sailing Virgins group looks like that's what they are. It looks like a lot of fun. I haven't done it, but I've been down in the British Virgin Islands and saw their boat go by, and it looked like a lot of fun. So you can go down there for like, I think it's like a week long vacation. I consider it a vacation if you're taking a sailing class, but you may not. And you actually get to stay on the boat and you get to learn to sail, which is super cool. And at the end, you end up with a certification as long as you're passing everything you need to. They, of course, have coursework for you to do beforehand. So these are all different ways that you can learn to sail without buying a boat. Check out the links in the description for somewhere to get started. Um, I can't give you super specific detailed information. I can just give you the idea behind it because I don't know where you are in the US. But I do know that I've found stuff when just looking around for funsies. I found stuff in Arizona. I found stuff in Minnesota because my friend was in Minneapolis for a while and he was kind of interested in sailing. So I wanted to give him a push. So I looked up some resources for him in Minneapolis, which I wouldn't have thought, but I guess it is the state of all the lakes. And of course, there's stuff in Maryland and all along the East Coast. So I hope this has been helpful. I hope it kind of gave you an idea of where I started, where you can start, and just showed you that you don't actually really need any background in sailing to get started. You just need to have the right attitude. You do need to be fit enough, but your fitness can be different. I'm going to pull one more thing in because maybe you're fit, but you're a different kind of fit. So there's something called the Impossible Dream, and it's a catamaran. And I'm not sure how you get involved with them, but if you are somebody that is in like a wheelchair or something like that, they have a fully accessible catamaran. So you can be somebody who is in a wheelchair and you're paralyzed and you have only the use of your arms, but you're super fit because you always have to push your wheelchair around. You're super strong and everything. You can go on this sailboat and you can, as somebody in a wheelchair, control all the different things. The boat is built so that you can control the boat and you can sail, which is amazing. And I'm sure that they have other accommodations as well for different types of abilities. And it's pretty awesome because I would have never thought that you could have a wheelchair on board just because I can hardly walk on board sometimes with the fact that the sailboat's sideways. But catamarans stay flatter. So it's really cool. And I have a friend who's even done a boat delivery on this boat, the Impossible Dream, from I think he said Miami up until like Boston. So no matter where you're starting, the right attitude, the right amount of fitness in the ways that you need for the boat that you're going to be on, you can find a way to start sailing. If you have any questions, drop them in the comments and I can try to help connect you to some type of resource. But I don't, for the Impossible Dream, I don't have like a direct contact or anything, but I can point you to the website. I'll put that in the resources. I didn't put that in there. I don't know why, because it's possibly one of the coolest ways to get involved in sailing. So hope you enjoyed this. I'm Kelly. I'll see you in the next video, and please subscribe if you want to follow along with my journey and transition from this house that I'll be out of in the next 2 weeks to moving on board and living on a sailboat full time, especially as someone who gets motion sick very easily and is always a little low grade motion sick. So, all right, talk to you all soon.